Anything else from zoning? That's it?
Nothing.
Okay, thank you. Move on to the zoning appeals.
Well, it's zoning and zoning appeals. It had come up at our meeting that there were questions about who was on, who wasn't on.
Okay.
But specifically zoning appeals board came up recently at a meeting because there was a hearing. And as I started to say before I was interrupted there and apparently corrected, Mrs. Boland, from what I understand, she relayed to me that she had been put on that board to replace her husband at some point. It must have been 2010 or 2011. When we went over this, that's not something that Jenny had included, so we need to address that, whether she's on the board or not.
Or we could put her on board as there's open positions.
Like I say, we need to address it. Is there a resolution that would, that kind of goes back to earlier, another example of keeping track of resolutions and logging them. It would be real easy to find that, because we know about the approximate time.
I looked for it, isn't there? It's not
Oh,
in
you
the
have looked.
minutes. Yes, I have.
Where did that come from? Was it done after a meeting, or just, I don't.
It was not done in a meeting. I don't know. It was not done in a meeting.
So where do we stand on openings? I know the ad ran, because I had
Have you
somebody
received any
call me.
Jack Hedges is interested.
We had 4 gentlemen show up for the board.
We did.
We need 7 on
I
it.
spoke to John Robbins, he said he's not interested in being on the board anymore. So
Was he the one that came?
he was one that was supposed to come.
He did
Yeah.
come.
So I think we have 4. If those guys still want to stay
Mr.
on.
Rathburn, who was an alternate, indicated that night that he would continue.
Yeah. He was one of the guys that was here.
Excuse me, President,
Done.
can I have a short comment that involves this, what you're discussing, or do I have to wait till public comment?
It involves the zoning appeals commission.
Yeah, at the last meeting you had in January, they had brought that up, and there was 3 of us that volunteered to participate in those positions. I was one of them,
Okay.
and I think Mr. Hedges was, so I just wanted to bring that to the table now so you're
Okay.
aware of.
We had ran it out in the paper to take interest, anybody that was interested in being on the board. So if you could put something on a piece of paper, maybe give it to Jen or give it to me or something like that.
I can just take it verbally. I mean, that's fine.
Why was I denied when you guys was talking about the signs on Honda Hill? Bring up Cherry Hill, not having no stop sign.
I did bring up Cherry Hill. I did bring it up. The signs are
No,
right
you
back
told me
there.
I couldn't
They're
talk.
Cherry Hill, they're Mac, and they're Hunt Hills. Those are the 3 we gotta get brackets and get up there.
I apologize, it felt like you were denied. Back to zoning appeals, so you ran the ad, we're gonna see if we can take some interest. We have 4 gentlemen that are interested, we need 7. 5 plus 2 alternates, correct? Did you put a deadline in?
Wait a second, there were two of those 4 were alternates. Lee was one, and Jeff Barrett also, I believe, is an alternate. So 2 of those 4 were alternates already, so we could possibly move to regular.
Sure. So when do you wanna look at these applications?
I've got, the lady named Shirley Haynes called me, says she's interested, she doesn't want to be on the full board, but she's interested in being an alternate.
Do you have a phone number? Sure. You have Jen?
I know her address. I can probably look it up for you.
Awesome.
So that's another name for you.
Um,
She said she'd be available for either
Patty,
meeting.
are you interested also?
I think if you will review the tapes or the videos, you'll find it did take place in a meeting. I know Dee was at the meeting when it happened. I think wasn't it the same month that you resigned and you switched to,
Probably, yeah.
Is
because
that
it
in
definitely
the
took place in a
That's
meeting.
that's in the meeting minutes where she switched boards, but I didn't see, and I would have put it in the minutes if it was done.
Well, I know Dee definitely remembers it too.
When did you run that ad? How long has it been in there? Probably, yeah.
Friday.
So we'll get one next week, get all the applications.
I didn't receive anything besides.
Besides the verbal ones, you got every month, yeah.
names already.
We may, we still want to.
Zoning appeals, we have 4. And there's something we know we can do there. Mr. Rathburn can be moved from, and Baird can be moved from alternate to regular,
Okay, I'll do it,
and
correct.
take the appropriate expiration dates.
Sure.
And that makes sure we have 4 on the actual board.
Then we have another 1, 2, 3 more, 4 more, another lady.
Zoning, it's along the same lines. I know we have at least 1 expiration. He's still on the board until he resigns, but formality there is they need to be extended too. Do you want to start there? Move the alternates to,
Yeah, we do that.
do you have the dates for those 2
I don't
alternates?
have a list with me tonight.
I guess we'll have to do it next month. So we'll table it then.
I think we need to speak to him also, to make sure we're still interested.
Well,
Continue.
I don't know about Jeff, but I know that Lee did want to. So you have the names of those interested people too?
Yes. Can you contact Jeff to make sure he's still interested?
That's great.
Where?
You don't have his number, he should be listed in there.
Okay, I'll call him.
Yeah, that'd be good. But you said Rodman's not wanting to continue.
Correct. Is that it? Do I have another?
Well, since we're still under appeal board on zoning,
Yeah.
on the recent appeal that was put in by Mr. Renzi, our zoning specifically says that this is supposed to occur within 20 days.
Okay.
I know the ball was dropped. You know, it's not about finger pointing, it's about putting a policy in place to make sure we adhere to what we're supposed to do in our own zoning. So, you know, I guess the failure came in and we need some kind of policy in place. When somebody applies for that, immediately the clock needs to start, certain people need contacted to add some legal requirements need to happen.
The zoning inspector and I have already taken care of that.
How are you gonna handle it in the future?
She's going to take it directly to the appeals board, chair person, and give me a copy
You know, start the ad.
as soon as the appeals board
Very good.
tells me when their meeting is, I'll let them know.
Is it possible on the website we can put just a checklist? Because what happens is a resident kind of gets hit over the head with this. They want to do something, they can't get the information. If there was a step-by-step procedure that was outlined for them, I think we could do that.
For someone that possibly wanted to apply for a variance,
Right, and also maybe a sheet that the zoning inspector could hand to them with the rates and different things.
do you know where we can get one?
We have to make one.
Can you make one?
Sure, I'll have it ready for next meeting.
Okay.
You just told me what it's gonna be, right? The zoning inspector is gonna contact the president of the appeals board.
The zoning inspector, if she receives a variance application, she will
Okay.
give me a copy and give.
All right, when you put it on the agenda, I'll have something written up next month and we can discuss it and improve something. This is about customer service to get people the information.
May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Make it simple.
You can write it, it's just a matter of having something for people. And that's it.
Okay, I'll write it. How about if we both write one, and then we choose which one to use?
Have a problem with that at all?
Very good.
Since we're talking about the zoning and everything there, on the website too, for the contact for the zoning inspector, I'm trying to figure out why we're paying for this cell phone, but she's not listing her cell phone. I don't understand why she has it if it's not something she's using advertising to.
Well, we're not paying for all of it or something, so what's meant by that?
But I had the impression that it was for business, so
Okay.
Why don't we have that phone number, or why don't people have access to how to get a hold of her by that phone number? Just a question, it's kind of an appropriate time to ask it.
Yes, but if they have that or house phone, it's gonna get to her.
Is it for just calls out, because we don't have to know it,
so.
just curious, that's all. 'Cause we are paying for that.
It's part of it.
We're paying for all of it.
What's that?
We're not paying for
What she
all of
uses
it.
for township business, definitely.
But she's keeping the number private, I don't get it.
It's her private phone, we just pay part of it.
Why?
She's out. So if she's out, she can call if she needs to, or whatever, if she has trouble. Or if she needs to call the sheriff or something while she's out on
In my brain, I'm trying to think of logic, I'm not perfect.
Just wait for public comment, thank you. Thank you. Jot that down. Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to comprehensive plan. Nobody here for comprehensive plan, is
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're welcome, sure.
I got lost in my deal on this. Yes, we did have a meeting, our monthly meeting. We have another one coming up February 15th, 5:30. We will finish the map for the township at that meeting, and then we'll start with our final public hearings. We do have some concerns that we found from the survey that we will be presenting to the trustees. Some issues that we've gathered from the surveys that residents were interested in pursuing.
Can you say the date and time of the meeting again?
15th,
February 15th?
5:30. It's the third Wednesday of the month.
Okay.
And Jenny, we were kind of curious if the ad that you had ran last year, do we need a new ad for this year? I mean, the meeting night and everything's still the
I
same.
can rerun one, I don't know that we need, maybe
Yeah,
it'll
we
help.
just wanted to, we just kind of weren't
It's
sure.
the third Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, everything's still the same, but we just weren't sure that if we needed a new ad every year or not.
Is that it?
That's it.
Thank you. Park committee? Park committee.
Under the park committee, we do need to discuss it. Former board here kind of put our park committee in a bit of a limbo here, without any kind of just cause or anything. Dan and Mr. Watkins removed arbitrarily one of the members from the board for no reason. It did happen to be the president of the board. And I don't know where they even have that authority to do it, but it's put us in quite a limbo here. I have a lot of people that are eager and ready to volunteer that have never been involved before. But I'm not gonna bring them into an environment that we have here, where a board is saying, oh, we're gonna pick you out and you're not gonna be on that board. Mrs. Wiseman is still doing this job. She's never been contacted, she's never had her, asked for her key or anything, and she's never had an explanation of why she did it. So, I mean, there's certain things you just don't do, and that's one of them. So, at this point, I just move to correct this matter. I move to rescind the motion that arbitrarily took Barb Wiseman off of the park committee.
I'll second it. Let's have discussion on it. Is there any discussion on that?
I'd like to hear discussion, Dan, and you can explain exactly why you did this.
the park, before the park committee. I mean, I'm not saying the park committee, they did some things and worked hard, but before, we never had no trouble down here. Everything was volunteer, everything went smooth, there was no complaints or nothing.
Who allowed the gun show?
Who else do we have on the park committee besides Ron?
Well,
You know, we used to have volunteers to mow and stuff, and then we got a park committee, nobody volunteers to mow or anything.
I know it's not public comment, but I know why that stopped.
I've got some comments too, but I'd like to hear it all from Dan first, because, you took that action, and I really can't understand why you would do that.
And, well, Dawn cleaned the building after, Dawn, Jack, everybody cleaned the building after the events, and they took care of it.
how does this correlate over to taking our president of our board off of the board?
We just did away with the park committee is all we did.
I know you didn't, I read the meeting minutes. You took one member off that board is what you
Who
did.
else is on the board?
Well, Ben, let me, you can go again, Dan, but I wanna explain
No,
that.
that's all right.
I was here from the beginning of the park committee, I've always been an advocate of it. And I'll
And
tell you
Vicky
exactly,
worked hard on the park committee. I do appreciate it, Vicky.
okay, anyhow, I'll continue. I wanna give you a little history, cause you may or may not know this. I know you've been to some meetings, but not all of them. The history of our park committee, we have a lot of willing people, we always have. We all agreed, all three of us, that we would have a park committee, we voted on it. The method that we used, we modeled it basically after a zoning commission or a zoning appeals board, by having 5 members and alternates. But we took that beyond that. We pulled the names out of a hat, the first 5 were on the board. We kept pulling names until we were done, and we went right down the list, and we just, all those people were considered alternates, and we went in that order. Over a period of time, those people worked, put their time in. If somebody had an opening out of the 5, they go to the next on the list. And everybody that was on the list has served at some point or said they didn't want to. And beyond that, what the park committee has done has been their past practice. Anybody that was interested, they're always welcome, and they came to meetings. And if they wanted to join the park committee, their name just went on that list, and that's how we've done it. And never in that history, except for, was it October, out of the blue, somebody was all pissed off because they did it all, and they got mad and wanted to remove one person from the board.
Excuse me.
Who else is on the board though, Jeff? Is Barbara
I'm on
one
the
that's-
board, for one.
Okay,